get started right away so that I don't waste any of your time with a little bit of thoracic and hip mobility. So today's workout, before we get going, you will need one weight, something like medium if you have it. I would say no heavier than 15 pounds. If you don't have a weight for today's workout, don't worry about it. You don't need to have one. Or if you don't want to use one, you don't need to have one. So go ahead and meet me standing at the back of your mat. We're going to start with some inchworm walk out. So you are going to tuck your chin, roll all the way down, walk all the way out, find the top of your plank, hold it here, take the right foot outside your right hand, square your hips off, take that right arm, open it up to the sky. And as you exhale, thread that right arm underneath your body, find a little bit of rotation, and then take that right arm back up. We're going to be here for 3 more, getting a little bit of mobilization through that mid back. 2 more, make sure your left back heel is lifted. 1 more, find that thread, unthread yourself, take that right hand down, right foot's going to stay where it is. You're going to straighten out your right leg, pike your hips up to the sky, and take your right toes up with you. Find a little hamstring stretch and then drop back down into your hip opener, that best stretch ever. Lift, and then drop. 2 more, lift. Drop down, last one here, go ahead and lift up. Drop down, hold it. You're gonna take that right foot, you're gonna step it back, left foot, left hand. Take that left arm up to the sky, same thing, other side. Thread it underneath you. Open it up, and then thread it again. 2 more. Make sure your hips aren't moving. Find your breath. 1 more. On this next one, you're going to take that left hand down and go back into that hamstring opener, lift up. And then lower down. So nice of Siri to tell me I'm done exercising. I swear. 1 more on this hamstring stretch. Drop down, go ahead and step that left foot back. Find a plank, now pike your hips up, find a down dog. And then plank out nice and low. And then do it again. So a breath in each position, opening up through the low back, finding that stability through our shoulders before we get going into today's work. 1 more, hold this down dog stretch. Push away from the ground, anchor your shoulders down, pedal out those feet if you need to, and then let your head hang heavy. A lot of the times with this one, we tend to lift our head up, let it drop. Get that nice full body stretch through that back side of your body. Alrighty, shift forward, find your plank. Hands and knees are gonna come down onto the mat. Find a tabletop position and go through some cat-cow. So remember, when you move through that angry cat back, you can shift your hips back towards your heels to over-accentuate that stretch through your low back. It's totally up to you and what feels good, but your shoulders need to stay anchored the whole time that you're moving through this. This is a great opener for your spine. Probably one of the best, at least for me. All right, find your tabletop. Let's do some spinal extension. Right arm, left leg, stretch them out long. Bring it in, switch, do the same thing on the other side. Keep going. Remember, you're thinking about length from the fingertips to the toes, not about how high your limbs lift. Think about pushing away from the ground and pulling your abs in as we go through this. 1 more. Okay. Bring it down, shift forward, and lay all the way down onto your stomach. Okay, you are going to bend your elbows, stack your palms, and then lay your forehead on top of your hands. I'm not going to lay my forehead down. I want you to be able to hear me. So my chin is going to be resting on my hands. Bend your knees, heels together, toes apart, flex your feet, heels squeeze prone, squeeze your butt, stamp your heels up, draw them down, do it again. Make sure your shoulders don't lift. When your feet lift, you should feel an anchoring of the shoulders, butt, hamstrings, and abs. Work through your low back, not pain through your low back. So don't worry about the size of the lift. If you have tight hip flexors, it's not going to be big. Focus on that bend of the knees. A lot of the times with this one, we get a little lazy and our feet start to fall down towards the mat. You don't want them. Pull those heels back in. Hold it up. Little pulses. Shoulders down. That's like more for me than you. Don't worry. 3 here. 2 here. Last 1. String those legs out nice and long. Rest them down onto the mat. Keep your hands right where they are. Bend your right knee. Flex your right foot. Kick yourself in the butt 2 times. Point the toes, straighten the leg out. Do the same thing on the other side. Holy moly. Make sure your hips don't move. They're evenly anchored into the mat below you as you alternate those heel kicks. This is a classical mat exercise. We will be going into the double leg kick. When we do, keep going with the single leg one though. When we move into the double leg kick, I'll count you into it. It is 1 kick, okay? We're going in 3, 2, bend both your knees, kick yourself in the butt once. Ooh, and then straighten your legs out. And then do it again. Pull your abs in more. Don't be aggressive with the kick. Think about the length, and when your legs straighten out, slow down that length. Slow down on the return. Get tension through the hamstrings. 1 more. All right. Very nice. Stay here for a hot second. We're going to move into a little quad stretch from here. So keep the left elbow bent, keep that palm down. With your right hand, reach behind you, grab for that right ankle, draw your knees together, and draw that right heel in towards your butt. Make sure that that right hip is still anchored down on the mat below you. Your right shoulder is anchored, and you are breathing. Just a little hip opener before we move on. All right, go ahead and let that right leg go. Same thing on the other side. Left knee bends, grab for the ankle with your hand. Square off your hips, pull your abs in. I was about to say grab for the ankle with your foot. Don't know how that would work. Every time I teach, I mess up what I say at least once. Whether or not you catch it is a different story, but I definitely do. That one I caught myself. I'm pretty proud of myself for that. Woo! Make sure your shoulders are down. Okay, go ahead and let that leg go. Flip around so that you are laying down on your side, facing me. So, I'm on my right side. It doesn't matter which side you're on. Prop your head up however you would like. Bring your feet out in front of you a little bit. Make sure that your bottom rib and hip are connected down into the mat below you. Take your top leg, lift it, bring it back in line with your hip. Flex that foot, point the toe, now sweep the leg forward, and then sweep the leg back. So figure out where your neutral is. You can also bend that bottom knee. My body needs that today. This is because I was at a soccer tournament all weekend, and sitting in the car is not something I'm used to. Not for a long period of time at least. And it was a lot of that. A lot. Sweep your leg forward in front of your hip. Flex the foot. Lift the leg. Lower the leg. So this lift can be fairly big because that hip needs to stay stacked as you're going through this. Woo! 3 here. Breathe, breathe, anchor your shoulders. Bring that leg down in line with your hips. Sweep your leg back, lift it up, circle it down and around. Yep, this should not feel fun right now. It's okay. Where are your abs? 2 more this way. We are moving pretty quickly today. Go ahead and reverse on this next one. Apparently the caffeine is hitting me quite well. Feel free to slow it down if you need to. Reverse it, go back, do whatever you need to do. Make sure that your form is on point though, as always. That is the most important part of all of this. If your form is not on fire, this will not work. Sweep that leg out, heel down, toe up to the sky. Last thing here, find that side leg split. Flex the foot as you lower, point the toe as you lift. Still neutral. Remember that leg can come in front of you a little bit if you need it to help keep that hip anchored. Very nice. 2 more, please breathe, it's helpful. 1 more. Good, draw that leg down, draw your legs together to touch, rub out that butt cheek if you need to. We are just gonna break dance around to the other side. We have a little bit longer ab series today, so I wanna make sure that we have plenty of time for it. Okay, prop yourself up however you want. Bring your feet in front of you a little bit. Bottom rib and hip are connected onto the mat. That top leg lifts. Bring it back in line with your hip. Make sure you're in a straight line. And then point your toe and sweep forward. And flex your leg and draw back. Big sweep forward. As long as the hip doesn't move, you can go all the way forward in front of your body. But if that hip is moving, decrease your range of motion. You have to, it's an ego check, I think, but you have to stop thinking about how big the movement is or what it looks like and truly how it's feeling within your body to get the most amount of benefit. Sweep that leg forward, flex your foot, lift your leg, lower your leg. Make sure your toes are relaxed on both of your feet. You should be able to wiggle them. Woo! This is the least fun, especially on this side because I already stabilized on the first side. Yep, that's how it goes. 2 more. Oh. All right, draw the leg down in line with your hips. Sweep your leg back, lift it up, circle it forward, down and around, and then do it again. So even with this, your circle might be smaller, and that's okay. The purpose of this kind of rotation, whenever we circle, is to get the femur to mobilize within the hip socket. If you've done other workouts, you've heard me say, whenever you have a ball to socket joint, you want to be able to move the ball of that single joint within the other joint in as many directions as possible. Reverse on this next one. So the size doesn't matter because regardless of the size, you're rotating, and that's what matters. And there are, see, told you I messed up my words, a lot of biomechanics that go into this, right? Like how big is the ball of your femur joint? How deep is your hip socket? Like how big could you actually make that rotation? A lot of this movement will impact your ability to squat and deadlift. Sweep that leg out, heel down, toe up to the sky, lift, side leg lift, and then lower. So the more you do these things, the more you're gonna see improvement with your squat, your deadlift, your thruster, your split squat, your lunges, your ability to vertically jump, like all of these other athletic proficiencies that you want to have, like in that toolbox. Go figure. Cross training. 2 more. Ooh. 1 more. Right, go ahead and come on down. Rub that out if you need to. Go ahead and come on up when you are done. So, we have an ab series. I'm actually going to grab my notes for this one to go through today. This is how this is going to work. You do not need a weight for this. If you would like to grab a weight, like I said in the beginning, no heavier than 15 pounds. If we get into this and you're like, ew, that weight's not working for me today, ditch it. You can do this whole thing without a weight. If you don't want to use it, it's completely okay with me. So go ahead and grab your weight and meet me laying down on your back on your mat. Okay, the weight is in your hands. Your arms are going to go up to the sky. Anchor your shoulders down. Bend your knees and plant your feet hip width distance apart. So all we're going to start with, easy breezy, is a little weighted crunch. Crunch up, come back down. Only up to the tips of your shoulder blades. Kind of get acquainted with where that weight is, how that weight feels. Now we will add on to this with a little leg lift. So now when you come up, lift your right leg into tabletop. The weight will go over that knee. Bring everything down. Same thing other side. So what you're getting is more oblique engagement as you were going through this, as well as obviously the rest of your core, and a lot of shoulder stability. Let's go 1 more each side. Okay, on this next one, head, neck, and shoulders will stay down. That weight is going to stay up over your chest. You are going to lift your legs into tabletop. So we're going into a tick-tock. I want you to start with just the legs. So drop both your knees over to the right, come to center, drop both knees over to the left. Keep going. What I want you to take notice of is when you go to the side, whatever leg is on top, push that leg a little faster so that your knees end up side by side. Now, making this rotation bigger, I'll count you into it, but when the knees slide to the side, the weight will go in the opposite direction. So join me on this next one. As your knees go to the right, take the weight to the left, like a big twist. Come into center. Same thing, other side. Now, I am not focused on my shoulders coming off of the mat. The top one is a little bit. What I am focusing on is that stability through center and that aspect of my core that isn't moving. We're gonna go one more each side. Good. Come into center, take your straight legs up to the sky, chest lift up, little crunches, weights to toes. Now, make sure that you are looking at your inner thighs when you are going through this. Not up at the weight, not up towards your toes. If the hamstrings are not having this today, please feel free to bend your knees. We're here for 3. We're here for 2. Come on down, straighten your legs all the way out. Okay, before we get into the next thing, since this is our first round, I'll take a second. We're going into a weighted roll-up. So as always, you can sit up and hinge or roll back to where you shake. I cannot stress this enough. If articulating your spine is contraindicated, like a doctor told you don't do it, you are not rolling, especially not with a weight. If you get into this and that weight feels funky to you in any way for whatever reason, get rid of it. I cannot stress that enough. Do not let your ego go and get in the way, all right? Whenever you're ready, find that roll up. You can take your legs a little wider with this if you need to, and I don't care if you restack your spine in the middle or if you keep the C curve the whole time. I do care that you are being mindful of how your spine feels with that added extra weight, okay? Because articulating, especially with the weight, is really, really difficult. A lot of people say to not do it at all. It is really how your body feels. And you have to be mindful of how that feeling works. All right, on this next one, sit all the way up, bend your knees. We're gonna go into a hinge and a Russian twist. So you're gonna hinge back, twist to the right. Find center, lift up, hinge back, twist to the left. Yep, keep going. We got one more exercise, and then we are back to the top. Make sure your knees and your feet are not moving. Because we are adding in this hinge, don't lift your feet. Not worth it. Sometimes we don't need to make it harder. One more. Finish off on this last side. Woo! Okay, go ahead and meet me laying down on your back. Alrighty, now legs are going to be planted. Bend your knees, plant your feet down. When you crunch up, both legs lift into tabletop. Both tap down and both lift back up. Remember, the biggest thing to keep in mind is the stability of your spine. Every time you're coming up, that weight is sliding over your knees. All right, 2 more here. I might like this one the least. 1 more. Okay, plant it down. Take a second. We're gonna roll through everything one more time before I let you go today. So, knees are bent, feet are flat onto the mat below you. That weight is in your hands up to the sky. Find that crunch with the single leg lifting now. Make sure you alternate. Every time that chest is coming up, you're still looking at your inner thighs. Every time that chest is coming up. Figuring out how this feels with the weight now that you're a little bit warmer. Whee! All right, we got one more each side. A little faster now that we know how to get into this. Go ahead and come on in, lift your legs into tabletop. Go into that tick-tock with the opposing arm reach. So right away, find that full rotation. You can let your gaze follow the weight, or you can keep your gaze up towards the ceiling tiles. It's whatever feels best through the neck. Your call. Again, this set's a little bit faster. Now that it feels more familiar, you know what to do. We're gonna move. Get this last little burn before I let you go today. Big exhale, one more. Even yourself out, find center, find those little reaches. Looking at the inner thighs again. Making sure your back is imprinted on the mat below you. Reaching up high with that weight. We're here for 3. We're here for 2. All right, come on down, straighten those legs out long, go into that roll up. So you're more tired now. If you need to adjust around what you're doing with that weight, go ahead. Completely up to you. I love the weighted roll up. I can't even lie. It's one of my favorites, but it is super challenging, especially if you're doing it correctly. 2 more. Don't be afraid to adjust around. 1 more. Stay up, bend those knees, plant those feet, sit up straight and tall, hinge back, reach to the right. Center and lift. A hinge with a little Russian twist. Yay. A love-hate relationship with Russian twists. Love to hate them? Seems right. 1 more. All right, find center, lay down onto your back. It's that crunch with both legs lifting into tabletop. Making sure that every time those feet come down that they are securely planted onto the mat before you crunch up again. We're here for 3. We're here for 2. And 1 more. Go ahead and bring it all the way down. Take that weight, carefully place it off to the side. Go ahead and rock and roll yourself all the way up to a seated position. We are going to find a couple stretches before I let you go. Draw the soles of your feet together. Knees are going to butterfly out nice and wide. You are going to sit up nice and tall. And with a flat back, stretch forward. Opening up through those hips a little bit after all that core work is never a bad idea. This is a very fast stretch. You need to be stretching for longer than this. I have stretching content on here. Grab that hip mobility session, grab a foam rolling session, do something to give to your body so that it will continue to give to you. Sit up nice and tall, straighten your legs out in front of you, move your butt cheeks out of the way if you need to, and with a flat back stretch forward. Make sure you're breathing. Good job today. Remember, if you have questions, if you need help on anything, please reach out and ask me at Lisa Pronzo on Instagram is the easiest way to go for that. Make sure that you save this workout or any of the other ones when you're ready for something low impact and a little fast, to just make sure that you've done something today and you can walk away feeling good about it. Great work today. I hope to see you again on your mat soon.